Hi friends, hope you are doing well. So today I'm going to reply to a question of a young viewer, and that question is how to get an intern job in a company. Now essentially, if you are a BS student who is studying in college, this may be a 3-year program or a 4-year program. One of your aims is to get an internship, and specifically these internships are given in summer. So very often May, June, July is the time when you can get some of these intern jobs. Now, one of the things you should do is that you should think about internship positions right when you enter college, and some people delay it for a long time and then they realize that they do not have the right skills which companies seek as far as the internship jobs are concerned, because very often what is taught in universities are very theoretical subjects, and very often what the industry seeks is practical problem solution. So let's look at 5 steps which will essentially help you to prepare for the internship jobs, and it's better if you start these things before, right in the first year of your bachelor degree curriculum, but if you start it later also it's okay. Now remember that you have the possibility of 2 or 3 intern positions, so you can probably get an internship at the end of the first year itself, at the end of the second year, at the end of the third year, if you are in a 4-year curriculum. Now the most popular internships are those at the end of the second year or the third year, because at the end of the 4th year you will hopefully be looking for a real job. Now the question is, why would companies bother to hire summer interns? Now actually there are 2 reasons for this. One is of course that they can check out a person, they can see how the person fits with their company and so on, so it's like a recruitment tool. And the second reason is that they often have some problems which involve practical knowledge. So somebody may have formulated a theory, may have made a lot of PowerPoint slides on a process, and they essentially need somebody to come in and code this up. So very often internships typically focus on things such as gathering data, making plots, working with Excel spreadsheets, writing Python programs, writing Matlab programs, and so on. So these are things in which the undergraduate students are typically better than most senior people, so they would like to take the help of such a student to complement their own skills. So let's start with the 5 points. So the number 1 point is start looking for positions in Google right in your first year. So essentially, let's say you are a mechanical engineer by training, or you are in the mechanical engineering program, then essentially what you need to search for is undergraduate mechanical engineering intern, and this particular phrase when typed in Google is likely to give you a lot of jobs. Now you can extend this same phrase to job search tools such as Indeed.com, Monster.com, ZipRecruiter.com, etc., and there may be more job search boards out there which you can use. Now one of the advantages of doing this is that you will find exactly what are the companies which are seeking people in your specialization and what is the specialization they are seeking in. So if you are a mechanical engineer, are the jobs out there in heat transfer, are they in fluid mechanics, are they in solid mechanics, are they in machine design, are they in CAD, and so on. So this is going to certainly help you, and if you are later on in your bachelor program, if you are a second year or third year student, you can essentially know exactly where you can apply. And here what you do is you submit your resume and then you apply for the job. Remember, the typical resume for a UG intern should be 1 page. It should never exceed more than 1 page. Now number 2 point. Now number 2 point would be that you have some targeted companies. So essentially what you can do is go to their web pages and look for jobs out there. So essentially if you go to a company web page, you will find that there is typically a section on careers, and in this section they will have a listing of various jobs. So you can search for the same keyword here in terms of the intern jobs at the UG level in your discipline, and various permutations and combination of this keyword, and then see if there are any jobs out there. Now one of the advantages of this approach is that, especially if you are targeting mid-size or smaller companies, and you know of some of these companies from your own engineering study, then it's very likely that they will have jobs in their system or in their web page which are not out there in the job boards. They may not be there on the job boards I mentioned, they may not be there on linkedin.com and so on. Now certainly by this stage, one more advice would be that you should have a profile in LinkedIn built up. So essentially give some of your basic background and then try to find a few people you can link with. So these may be some of the friends you have, some of the people you know, and so on. So now the number 3 point is that what are exactly the skills which companies want. So if you have done number 1 and number 2 of this process, you will know from the various jobs what are the skills which people want nowadays. So let's take the area of computer science or data science. So here you will find that Python, SQL, Pandas, scikit-learn, Pytorch, these are some of the skills people want, maybe even TensorFlow. If you are looking at different aspects of computer science such as gaming, you may find people want C++. If you are looking at web development, maybe Java, JavaScript. If you are looking at fast code, maybe you need C programming skills and so on. So the time to build some of these skills is right in your first and second year. And if you are already skilled in a certain domain, like let's say you are an expert in C++, then you can focus on that area. Now talking about mechanical and fluid mechanics and solid mechanics, some of these fields, is that very often companies may want you to know some element of some software. For example, they may want you to know Nastran or Ansys or Comsol, and very often in your university you may have access to these softwares out there. So essentially you need to do a few simple problems on these softwares and then see that you are familiar with doing some simple examples here, and then later you can use it in the industry. If you are coming from the electrical type of background, make sure you know Matlab, Simulink, and some of the main toolboxes in Matlab. So the number 4 issue which I have is essentially tools, and some of this I mentioned in the previous part about skills, but tools I would say are more specific software pieces which are out there. So very often companies will have a set of tools which you need to know to do the job, and these could start out from something like TensorFlow or Pytorch or some of the natural language processing softwares. It may be some things such as scikit-learn, it could be Nastran, it could be Comsol, and certainly you need to know things such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, to some extent Tableau, and maybe even the programming language R. So depending on where the jobs are going, it's very easy as an undergraduate student to figure out some aspects of your coursework where you can learn and master some of these skills. So you don't need to of course master all these skills, but be sure that if you are in a certain area you are familiar with some of these concepts. So it shouldn't come across that if somebody talks about TensorFlow you have no clue as to what is TensorFlow. It's essentially a machine learning tool which is brought out by Google. So having a basic knowledge of the vocabulary of your field in terms of the different tools which are out there is very important, because it shows that you know of the existence of these things, and of course the company is going to give you a head start and maybe give you a couple of weeks or a month to master that particular product. So for example, if they need somebody to know SQL and Pandas, it's very easy to pick this stuff up in just 2 weeks if you know Python. Now finally, and number 5 is the network. So you need to tap the network. Now as far as internship is concerned, it's very often the case that networking can help you get internship, especially in small and medium sized companies. So essentially what you need to do is you need to tap the parents of your friend, your parents' friends, the other people you may know through your high school and so on, and you will often find that there may be jobs which are not even listed anywhere, but if you tell somebody, hey, I'm looking for an internship, they may say, okay, maybe we can hire this guy for the summer. Because remember that to hire somebody for a period of 3 months during summer is actually very easy on the management, and it's very easy for a manager to convince his manager that they need to hire this guy for the summer. It's actually very hard to convince management that you want to hire a permanent employee, because that comes with a lot of paperwork, lot of benefits, lot of long-term commitments, lot of legal issues, and so on. So the intern is a temporary position and it's paid relatively less, so it's very easy to create these jobs. Now you should always remember that internships actually can pay very well in the corporate sector, so keep that in mind, that the payment will be actually on par of what a person gets for the full year as a first year bachelor degree student. And what they will do is that they will essentially divide this by the number of months and give you some number according to that. I would say about 70 to 90% of the pay of a regular person would be there for an intern, and sometimes it's even more in some of the companies which are highly profitable. So these were some issues I had for you today about how to get the intern job. Like I mentioned, you should begin this process right at the beginning of your UG curriculum in case you are interested in taking a job right after your bachelor degree. Very often companies like to see that you have done an internship somewhere in your second year or your third year, and very often if you have done an internship and you have done reasonably well, they will essentially hire you. The other factor is that any of the co-workers, the managers whom you work with during the internship become valuable sources of references, whether you are applying to a company somewhere down the road or you even apply to a university for a master's or a PhD program. So always remember that it's not good to only give your professors as references. It's actually a very strong case if you can give some manager or some co-worker as a reference, because essentially they have a different letterhead or a different email, and essentially that email or letterhead name carries a lot of weight. So always keep that in mind when you are looking for internship, that this person is going to be very valuable to you down the road. So this was my take on how to get an intern job in summer, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.